Hello and welcome to my trip up the Dalton Highway from Fairbanks, Alaska, all the way up to Prudhoe Bay / Dead Horse, Alaska. Very excited to take this trip. It's going to take 2 days to get there and 2 days to get back. I'll probably skip through the coming back pretty quick since we'll be retracing our steps. But yeah, so we're get out on the road, and I'll talk about some of the things as we go, because the first trip from Fairbanks up to kind of the first junction before we get to the Dalton Highway is kind of a normal road, not part of the Dalton Highway, but if you're ever going to do this, you pretty much have to start in Fairbanks, and so that's where I'm at. So let's get on the road and head on to the top of Alaska. Like I mentioned, we're starting here in Fairbanks, and it's about an 80-mile drive to I think it's called Living Good, where the Dalton Highway begins. So I'm going to kind of zip through that part because it's not technically the Dalton Highway, but I'll show you between here and there maybe if there's anything interesting to check out. But yeah, just getting started. So I had to, rent a special vehicle. When I say a special vehicle, it's not any, the vehicle isn't special. It's a Ford Escape. But in order to go on the Dalton Highway, it's a rough road. There's a lot of trucks from the oil companies that fly up and down the basically gravel road and kick up rocks and different things like that. So most rental car places will not let you they say if you rent from here, don't drive up a road like that. So it's a little more expensive. It's a 4-day trip, where it's 2 days up and 2 days back. And the rental, I went to a rental place called Arctic Outfitters. It's near the Fairbanks airport. And so the rental price, about $1,000 for 4 days. And that includes, any taxes, fees, all that kind of stuff. So you're talking $250 a day for the vehicle. And they outfit you with multiple spare tires and first aid kit and kind of everything that you might need in case you get in trouble. There's a CB radio in here, and you're supposed to kind of let people know when you're pulling out, and within a 5-mile radius it goes out that far. So yeah, different than a normal back road trip, and so should be interesting. On my flight up here, I sat next to a firefighter from Colorado who was flying up here to deal with some wildfires. And, that's a fairly common thing that happens in Alaska, but there were some really bad ones recently. We're going to be driving right through where some of the worst ones were here, the first kind of, 70, 80 miles before we get to the Dalton Highway. Hopefully nothing's too bad, but it might be kind of smoky. And luckily there's been some rain recently, and I think that probably helped with the fires. But they say they have lightning strikes, and then that causes a lot of the fires. And there's it's so vast with so little population that they kind of just let them burn often, but they just try to protect places that need to be protected, where there's might be people, or the Alaskan pipeline, which is what we go right along here for the trip today. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting that they were calling in firefighters from all across the country. We're still on Highway 2, and we're near a place called Goldstream. Not quite sure what's over there, but that's kind of cool looking. But this is our first glimpse at the Alaskan pipeline over through there. And I think it's a good place to start. We're right there. Eventually we're heading up there, and a really nice deal with how it works. We'll probably talk about the pipeline a little more as we go, and then some different things we might see along the way. Hopefully we don't see too many of those, but hopefully we see lots of those. And that heads down towards Fairbanks. And this is gonna go for hundreds of miles along this road. And some more interesting information over here. A retired pig. Didn't know that was called a pig. All right, pretty good. Let's head on down Highway 2. There are very few towns along the way, so I thought I'd stop here in Fox. It's a, old / current mining community. They have a grocery store here, gas station, and some cool old buildings to check out. So we won't have many of these communities along the way, so I figured might as well stop when we see one. Howling Dog Saloon. Doesn't look like it's been howling much lately, but it looks cool. What a great little mural. I would normally stop and explore a lot longer, as you might know if you watch this channel a lot, but it's 273 miles from Fairbanks to where I'm staying tonight, Wiseman. I figured that would be a perfect place for a Wiseguy to stay. And a lot of it is you got to drive pretty slow and on some rough roads. So I want to go ahead and get going as far as I can, early in the day. Now, the good thing is it's pretty much daylight 24 hours a day. I think down at Fairbanks is a couple hours. The sun sets right now. This is July. And where I'm heading, there's going to be even less. Pretty much round the clock daylight. So I don't have to worry about running out of daylight. Highway 2, which is a paved road, generally a pretty good road. It's very scenic, but there are lots of potholes. They're doing construction, a lot of different, you got to stop for construction, and you can see why. There's like potholes all over the place, and they have them circled, or most of them circled, so as you're driving, you're seeing a circle, and you're like, okay, which way am I going to go? So yeah, really pretty drive this way, but watch out for the potholes. I think this is where some of the fires were, and you can see it's not the trees changing colors in July. It's definitely had some fires coming through this area. It is really pretty, and but you can imagine how crazy those fires can be. Pulled off right here. This is the Arctic Circle trading post. Nobody's here. Good place to stretch the legs and check it out. Take a little dip. Yeah, probably not. I can't tell if it's out of business or just closed for now. I would think this might be one of the busier times of the year. So we have gotten through the first part of the trip, which is getting to the Dalton Highway. That 80 miles took about 3.5 hours. I don't know if that's normal construction. There were long stretches of construction where you're going very slow and even stopped. But anyways, we are here at the beginning of the Dalton Highway, and it is 188 miles till our destination tonight, which is going to be Wiseman. All right, so let's talk about the history of the Dalton Highway, what it is and how old it is and all that kind of stuff. The Dalton Highway is 414 miles from Living Good to Dead Horse, which is, on the shores of the Arctic Ocean. The first road that was intended for motorized vehicles that went up to the Arctic landscape was known as the Hickle Highway, and the first road opened in 1968. It brought the first supplies to the Prudhoe Bay oil fields and allowed construction for the first permanent facilities up there. And without maintenance, it was eventually abandoned. So the Alaska Pipeline Service Company built the first version of the road, and it was known simply as the Haul Road, H-A-U-L, the Haul Road, starting with the stretch from Living Good to the Yukon River, which we'll get to before too long. The road was entirely focused on the private oil industry needs. The plan to quickly build the pipeline ran into obstacles. First, native land claims needed to be settled through the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act in 1971. Not long after that, a group of environmental organizations sued the government over the pipeline's permits, including the right-of-way for building the Haul Road along the pipeline route. In 1973, the court sided with the environmental groups, leading Congress to pass the Alaska Pipeline Authorization Act to resolve the permitting issues. This meant that it was not until 1974 that they began construction on the pipeline and the majority of the Haul Road. The road was needed first, and over 5 months in the summer of 1974, 390 miles were built. They finished the pipeline in 1977, and on June 20th, oil started flowing from Dead Horse to Valdez. The company still needed the road for maintenance and transportation, but it no longer needed to control it. In 1979, the company turned over what the company president called a gift to the state. 2 years later, the state opened the newly named James Dalton Highway to public traffic. The road opened to the public in 1994, drawing new people like me to the North Slope. Big trucks come by quite a bit. You got to get over because they kick up a lot of dust and dirt and rocks. Probably the most frequent vehicle you see out here. While I'm stuck in some really slow construction traffic, I thought I'd let you know this right here is kind of like the ultimate Alaska, guide. I have my Delorme Atlas and Gazetteer maps, and I have one for Alaska, but this is so incredibly detailed. It gives not only, the maps, but mile by mile things to kind of check out. And so I thought I'd read something from a few things about the Dalton Highway as I'm going through the construction here. It's pretty rough. The Dalton Highway is unique in its scenic beauty, wildlife, and recreational opportunities, but is also one of Alaska's most remote, dangerous, and challenging roads. Driving distance between Fairbanks and Dead Horse is approximately 1,000 miles. That's round trip. Allow 3 days for the trip. I'm taking 4. Also, it says all types of vehicles from motorcycles to passenger cars to freight haulers drive the Dalton Highway each year. Not everyone, however, is meant for this drive. I think I'm made for this drive. Here's some more. keep in mind the Bureau of Land Management's advice when driving the Dalton. Expect and prepare for all conditions. Prepare to be self-sufficient. I got a few groceries, but I don't know how long I would last out here if I had to be self-sufficient for a long period of time. This says it's 60% gravel. Seems like to me it's 100% gravel so far. But yeah, there you go. There's some tidbits from the Milepost. Awesome book to get. Actually, the rental car company has a copy of it as well in the vehicle. So yeah, it's definitely like the Bible around here for all the roads. We've reached our first community along the Dalton Highway, and it's Yukon Camp. And the Yukon River goes through here, and it's a 2,000-mile river from Canada to the Bering Sea. So quite a long, and right here at least, a large river. This stop here now is kind of interesting. It's kind of, recreational area. They have like a checkpoint or information area on the one side of the road. Then on the other side of the road, they have a little place, lodging area where you can get gas, you can get some gifts, you can get food here. So that's obviously good to know if you're looking for food. The gas was interesting. First of all, it was very expensive. Now, maybe if you're from California, the price won't look that expensive, but when you're from Kansas, it's very expensive. And there's an interesting process. You give the lady your credit card inside, you go pump the gas, you take a picture of how much you spent, you take it back inside, they charge you, you give your card back. So yeah, so anyways, very beautiful area. I can definitely see why people come here to do some fun recreation. Well, the Arctic Circle is a first for me, so that was cool. Nice little photo there at the Arctic Circle pullout. Mostly, I mean, it's a nice drive, very scenic, but you're mostly just trying to watch to not hit potholes. There's parts of the road is paved, and a lot of it just has got, the weather just wreaks havoc on roads, and especially this is extreme weather up here in the winter, and so just makes these roads rough when it gets to the summer. So yeah, you're mostly just looking for potholes. You're, oh man, there's a nice, scenic view. Boom, a pothole. So trying to get this vehicle to the top of Alaska and back in one piece without having to change a flat tire along the way. After a long day, we have reached the community of Coldfoot, and there are some services here, and there's a museum here, and or I guess a interpretive center. Only 13 miles from my lodging for tonight in the next town up, but there is nowhere to eat there, so I'm gonna have some dinner here. But I'm gonna wait to explore this town on the way back because it's just an up and back. So in a couple days I'll be back here, and I'm actually gonna stay the night here on that trip, on that day. So I feel like that would be a good time to explore Coldfoot, except for getting some food. So I'm gonna get some food and then head up and find my Airbnb, or I think it's just a B&B on the town of Wiseman. We have made it to Wiseman, our destination. Looks like it's gonna rain maybe for a little bit, so I know the sun is right there, but it's big clouds over here. So let's go find our lodging for the night, and then we'll come out and explore Wiseman in just a little bit. We know there's gonna be plenty of light. Talk about homemade maps. All right, there we go. Let's go see if we can figure out where we're staying. I think this is where I'm at. Number 2. Oh, got 2 beds. small, but it'll do. Maybe we'll see some animals. Okay, here's the bathroom. Okay. Community bathroom. Nice and warm. Looks like we got a kitchen. It looks like I'm the only one here right now. It's been a couple more hours and the rain continues to come down, so I'm going to end this right here for today. I'm going to get up early, explore around Wiseman, and yeah, it was a long day anyways. It's 13 hours from Fairbanks to here. I did, obviously stop off a few places, but that was a long day of driving. Yeah, there's not a lot of places to stay unless you're going to camp between as well, so definitely took longer than I thought. And but it was good. It was interesting. The potholes in the roads weren't good. Other than that, I definitely enjoyed it. Looking forward to exploring Wiseman and in the morning and heading up to Dead Horse and to the top of Alaska tomorrow. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. And now that you're here, let me tell you a little bit more about all the other things going on this channel. If you want to become a member, you can become a member on either Patreon or YouTube memberships. There's 3 different levels, and as you are on a different level, there's more and more things, behind the scenes videos, different things that you're going to be able to gain access to. Make sure you check out my website, travelwithawiseguy.com. There's a whole bunch of new stuff on there. There's a merchandise link with some new cool merchandise. There's a newsletter that you can sign up for. About every 3 weeks, I send out a new newsletter that's free. I have Google Maps, which has documented every place that I've made a video about. And you can click on there, and you can go to the map, and you can find the videos that I made, and it's all in one very convenient place. There's lots and lots of other stuff on there. So make sure to check out the website and explore all around what I've got going on. But once again, thank you so much for watching this video. You know you're in the middle of nowhere. Oh, we got something.